interesting story is Brian Sheehy being involved in both senior panels for Kilmacud Crokes. And Kieran Dowling, who's the joint manager of Crokes, was talking about it after the game yesterday. He was saying that it's a little bit unfair in him. And I suppose from a personal point of view, it is a little bit unfair in him. Now, Kieran also, I think, added that if it was a team from Cork or somewhere else in the country, that
he mentioned Lockmore Castellini as well.
Yeah, and I suppose the difference there is that you would have a crossover of maybe 14 players, or maybe even more if you're going to talk outside the starting 15. And the other part I'd say is, remember when we played the All-Ireland semi-final against Schlockneil, and they were also in the football semi-final, they were both initially down for the same weekend, and then I think it was moved back a week. Now the difference there is there was, I'd say, at least a month before those semi-finals were coming around, so there was a lot of room to play with. Whereas in this situation, it's a very tight turnaround. We know when the All-Ireland semi-finals are going to be, the final, all that kind of stuff. So it has to be played off quickly at this point. So maybe there wasn't room. Now, yeah, you can understand why they'd want to do it as a double header, especially for the Crokes supporters who don't want to have to pay in twice or travel twice. And I know it's not that far away. It's only south side of the city and you're going slightly to the north side. But for the sake, like, maybe you could have had one Saturday, the other Sunday. Now, he generally plays, he doesn't start for the footballers and he might come on late. And again, Kieran said that he's a beast of a player and he could do it. But I don't know. I mean, if there was a huge amount of players, I'd say fair enough. But we often talk about the club being held up because one minor player was involved. The full club championship is held up because one minor player or whatever has to line out for his county in a few weeks ahead of time. I don't think you can hold everything up for one player. I do think it's unfortunate for Brian. I think if you could play one Saturday, one Sunday, you'd say fair enough. That gives him a bit of an opportunity. What are your thoughts on it?
I wonder, is TV coming into this much, in the sense of the games to be broadcasted live, and TG Cat are broadcasting on the instead of broadcasting on a Saturday and a Sunday, they'd be broadcasting the two games back to back. Very much easier done, shall we say, from their point of view. Whereas it creates
financially as well,
and financially it creates a lot of probably problems for them potentially. So I wonder, is that something that's in the mix too? If I was to hazard a guess, I would say that if the two games are going ahead, that he would probably only tug out for the hurlers. I'd say that's not obviously particularly fair on him, but we have talked about, how many times have you seen it in Tipperary? I know I've seen it in Offaly a lot, where with the old rule, with minors allowed to play adult, that, a senior championship could be held up because a guy is playing All-Ireland semi-final with Tipperary who's minor, do you know what I mean? Who mightn't even necessarily be guaranteed to start for his senior adult team. It's fair play to him for keeping it going, because he's obviously swimming against the tide in Crokes. It's interesting, Shane, I saw something, tweet from Crokes there as well. They were the first team to ever be in Leinster finals at hurling, football and ladies football in the 1 year. I think Portlaoise, and I just have it here actually, Portlaoise and somebody else did it before. They competed in hurling and football, but they'd never competed in all three. And of course, when I want to find it, I can't find it. Oh yeah, you said we joined Ballyboden. Ballyboden actually appeared in the Leinster finals across football, hurling and ladies football. And Ballyboden, UCD and Portlaoise all played finals in both hurling and football, with only Portlaoise contesting both in the same year. No club has won both football and hurling titles. So you can talk about how big they are and the numbers they have or whatever, but it's still an unbelievable achievement for any club to be able to have those resources available, even training wise, how difficult it comes into logistically, financially, obviously as well. And people would say, oh, there's no lack of finances in Dublin or whatever. It's a club as well. There's still serious financial burden on them. So it's phenomenal what they're doing. They'll win the football, I'd be fairly confident. The hurling is a different story altogether. But you were saying off air that they're 5-1 in the hurling.
They're 5-1, and it's like, was it 6 or 7 points in terms of the handicap as well? I thought that was really, I would see it not as a 50-50 game. I think you have to look and say that it's, Ballyhale are the champions. They've been here so often. There's a lot of reasons why you book them. But I don't know if I agree with a 6-point handicap and 5-1 and like Ballyhale are 5-6 on. It just seems a small bit askew. But look, they've battered teams before when you didn't expect it. So who knows?
True, yeah. I have to say I was very impressed with Crokes yesterday. Their pace is frightening at times, particularly up front. And Ballyhale creaked and showed plenty of holes in their defence yesterday as well. I know we'll talk about that a bit more.